All right, welcome. Hopefully this is recording. I think it probably is. We're into chapter 11, and these are consumer mathematics type problems. Yesterday we had the opportunity to learn about percent. So exciting. Moving on, though, we're moving into personal loans and simple interest. Now, if you are in such a way that you don't ever have to take out a loan, congratulations, the Lord has blessed you. If you're like kind of the most of the rest of us, unfortunately, you might have to take a loan at some point in time. Currently, we have a loan on our home. It's called a mortgage. I think our mortgage rate, we actually got it in a very good time, was like 2.87 or 85%. I just checked online, and rates now are closer to 9 point something. So, yeah, that's kind of what we're going to talk about in today's lesson. We're talking about interest and personal loans. So a loan is the amount of credit a bank is willing to lend you. If you walk in there with just a big smile, you may not be able to get much. You need to usually have some kind of security or collateral or something to back the fact that you'll be able to pay it back. And so security is anything of value the borrower pledges that may be kept or sold by the lender if the loan is not repaid. A bank may issue a loan without security but may require a co-signer to sign for all legal documents. In my youth, I think I took out a small loan for one of my early vehicles, and so my parents had to co-sign on it. And basically what that meant was if I didn't pay, then my parents would have to pay. And that was, in hindsight, kind of a big responsibility on my part to make sure I take care of it so that they didn't lose the farm, literally. Last thing there is interest. Interest is the money the borrower pays to use the lender's money. So the example would be if I have $1,000 and one of my students needs $20, I could charge interest on that so that when they pay me back, instead of giving me just $20 back, they could give me $22. Profit. Okay, that's my interest. So to calculate this simple and basic interest kind of concept, we have this formula. Interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time. Principal is the amount of money borrowed or lent. Rate is the rate of interest expressed as a percentage. We use percentages here, not the decimals. And then time is the number of days, months, or years for which the money will be lent. Time is expressed in the same period as the rate. So 2% per month, time must be in months. If it's 12% per year, time must be in years. And that's what we're talking about, simple interest. So here's a couple examples to get you going. Corey needs to borrow $4,200 to have a corrective eye surgery done. From her credit union, she obtains a 9-month loan with an annual simple interest rate of 8.5%. Find the simple interest on the loan and how much total she will pay. So annual means rate per year. So 9 months, we have to flip that into years. That is actually 3/4 of a year. So we got to make sure we're using the correct units. Then we take our formula. Interest equals percent times rate times time. Well, in this instance, we have the need for $4,200. Our rate is 8.5%, which is going to be 0.085. And our time is going to be 3/4 of a year, aka 0.75. Plug it in, calculate it out. The total amount that she's going to actually be paying back at conclusion, $4,467.75. So that is the actual amount, the interest being the difference. If we take 4,467.75, subtract 4,200, the amount she needs, this is her interest, $267.75. So interest, again, is the thing you need to pay the lender as a courtesy, I shouldn't say courtesy, as a commitment to thank them for loaning you the money. Thank's not the right word either. Anyways, example 2. Paul lent his friend $300, probably to buy a PS5 or something, although you probably can't get one for $300. They're like $600. Anyways, 6 months later, his friend repaid the original plus $30 of interest. What annual rate of interest did Paul receive? Now, they might have had just a gentleman's agreement on how much was coming back, but we can still calculate that out as far as how much percent that's going to be. So 6 months is 1/2 of a year. Remember, it has to be in the appropriate time frame. So we're looking for rate per annual, so that's year, and we're talking 6 months, so that's half a year. So if he got $30, that's his interest. $300 was the original. We don't know what the rate is, so we're going to use R. And then we plug in our time frame here, calculate this out. We get 30 equals 150 R. We divide 30 by 150. We get 0.2, and we convert 0.2 in decimal to percentage. That is a 20% interest rate over the course of a year. That's actually pretty steep. Credit cards are usually in that 18 to 20% range. So, It works. It works. Example 3, to obtain money for a new speaker, Dave decides to pawn his trumpet. Now, if you've ever seen the Discovery Channel or History Channel or one of those where they have Pawn Stars, those guys, you can walk in with like a $5,000 thing and they'll say, best I can do is $3. It's kind of crazy. But anyways, he pawns his trumpet and borrows $240. After 30 days, he gets his trumpet back by paying the pawnbroker $288. What's the annual rate of interest for his pawning? So we take a look at the simple interest formula. Each month has 30 days because this is kind of a monthly situation. And there's, on average, 360 days in a year. So the time is going to be 30 divided by 360, so about 1/12 of a year, roughly. I'm not quite sure why we don't use real numbers, but this makes it easier to use these fractions. The amount of interest paid, he paid back $288. We subtract $240 from that. We get $48 of interest. And we plug in what we know. We know that 48 is our interest. We know that it's $240 was the initial principal. We don't know the rate, and we know that the time frame was 1/12 of a year. So we get 20R is equal to 48. Take 48 divided by 20. The rate is 2.4. So he paid, this is terrible, but it is what it is, 240% interest. Crazy. Okay. So there's a couple other problems similar to this in your homework. Here is the homework for this assignment. 10, 14, 18, 20, 24, 26, 30, 32, 34, 38, 40, 42, 44, 50, and 54. Best of luck. Send me an email if you need some help.